I remember sometime when I was a student, and like I told you, life began very rosily with me. This was one of the incidents during that rosy phase, when everything seemed to be going right with me. Okay. And I got a lot of attention. And then one fine day, I just didn't get any attention. I was a no one in that room. I would stand there. Swami would walk past. Swami would take letters, or Swami would speak to the person on my left, the person on my right, the person behind me. It was as if I just didn't exist. We were sitting in a group like this. He'd come one day distributing shirts. So he would give to everybody. But somehow, very casually, miss giving me that shirt. So there are 30 people in the room, you can be sure there are 29 shirts. So I went through that. It was only much later I realized that if I went through that, it was only because I was neither the center of existence, all existence, nor was I nobody in existence. I had to find myself. I had to allow him to enter my life. I had to allow him to enter my head. I had to allow him to enter my heart. And if he had to enter my head and enter my heart, I had to learn to empty it of all that this world had taught me. That period when I didn't exist, or probably I existed like one of those flower pots around the place, that was the period where I was searching inside me why I didn't exist. He didn't point out. He allowed me to search for myself. He allowed me to find out for myself and empty all that was wrong. Not that the process is over, a lot of it is still left. But he allowed me to find for myself. He allows each one of us to walk at our own pace. We have to decide whether we want to walk forward and at what pace whether we want to walk, or whether we are going to remain in the same place. Unfortunately, many of us after some time decide it's very convenient to remain in the same place. If we decide it's very convenient to remain in the same place, he allows us to remain in the same place. The end of that period came in a very simple way, and a lesson which I will not forget for the rest of my life. He'd not spoken to me for a long time, probably 2 months. 2 months in Swami's presence is a very long time, especially in those days when there were a handful of students always around Swami. So 2 months, he's treating you like one of the pillars or flower pots around. Is a very, very long time and a very painful time. And one day suddenly, he was sitting and we were all standing. So I was standing. And he suddenly turned to me and asked, what's the distance between, he pointed to himself, what's the distance between there and here? I didn't understand the question. What's the distance between there and here? So for a moment I'm wondering, is Swami asking for the physical distance? Is Swami asking for something else? I couldn't find anything deeper to that question. So after a lot of thinking, Swami repeated that question 2-3 times, very graphically. First time he said, what's the distance between there and here? Second time, what's the distance between there, kind of pointing to where I was standing, pointing to my feet, between there and here. So finally I mumbled, 3 feet. And then Swami said, 3 feet? So my mind, not still tuned into Swami's wavelength, I thought maybe I got my measurements wrong. So I said, Swami, maybe 4 feet. 3 feet, 4 feet, distance is 3 feet. Yes, Swami, 3 feet. What's the distance between here and there? Now at least I was sure Swami is talking of distance feet. So I said, Swami, 3 feet. And Swami said, are you sure? I said, Swami, maybe it's 4 feet. So the Swami said, if this is 4 feet, is this also 4 feet? I said, I folded my hands, but couldn't resist saying, Swami, it should be. So with folded hands, I said, Swami, it should be. Then Swami repeated. He said, if the distance between, and this time, which I didn't realize at that moment of time, because I kept thinking about it, maybe a few hours later I realized, Swami is no longer pointing to my feet. Swami is pointing to me. The distance between there and here is 3 feet. The distance between here and there is also 3 feet. Swami said that and paused. Probably he realized that this dull-headed, thick guy wouldn't have really understood. So he said, whatever the distance you think between you and me, the same is the distance between me and you. If you think you are far, you are far. If you think you are near, you are near. So this was Swami's way of saying, don't be despondent just because I have not spoken to you. Simple lessons. Very profound statements. But very profound statements put to you in a language which you will understand, in a manner in which things would go home. But then when the journey begins, he begins by making you comfortable. But ultimately he is the teacher. And as a teacher, he wants you to learn. I don't know whether the lessons are painful for the student or not. But like Swami himself said, I alone know how difficult it is to teach you each step of the dance. It's Nataraja alone who knows how difficult it is to teach. So if the lessons were difficult to the student, it was even more difficult to the dance master. But dance master that he was, all his life, he kept teaching. All his life he kept teaching, hoping to take you forward on that journey. Help you to take that first step from I to we. A good part of his life was spent in teaching us that we need to move beyond I. Because as we have grown up, we've all been conditioned to think of me, mine, me, my, mine. Everything about us, whether it's people, whether it is property, whether it is money, whether it is physical objects, everything comes with that word before it. My brother, my family, my father, my property, mine. So I do something for what is mine. I do something else for what is not mine. Swami lived his life teaching us nothing is mine in one sense. The whole world is mine in another sense.